welcome to Kent Tonight live on KMTV. I'm Isabel Miller and here are your top stories on Thursday the 26th of June. Sentenced to life. Stephen Castle to serve a minimum term of 25 years for the murder of Wayne Woodgate.
He showed absolutely no remorse whatsoever. He's quite cold, very calculated individual. It was almost like it was just daily business for him.
Don't stop in the box. Medway Council revealed to have the second highest revenue from yellow box fines in England.
These new powers allow us to do is to actually ensure that we stand up for the thousands of law-abiding citizens.
And high spirits. Ramsgate Primary School names air ambulance helicopter.
Children of all ages, it's really important that they learn about the work that we do and the difference that we make and that they can make.
New RAC data shows the Medway Council was the second highest earner from fines received by people stopping in a yellow box. This data excludes London and Cardiff. With only 5 enforced boxes across Medway, it is estimated that the council are handing out 13 PCNs a day. Our reporter Daisy Page has taken to Medway to see the yellow boxes for herself.
These yellow box markings on a road are used to reduce traffic and keep junctions clear. A motorist which stops in one of these can be at risk of receiving a £70 fine, which can be reduced to £35 if paid within the 21 days of the notice being issued. Up until May 2022, only councils in London and Cardiff could enforce yellow box junctions. But since other authorities could enforce this, there has been a concern for drivers being unfairly caught out. In a statement by RAC, they said, "The enormously high number of penalty charge notice being raised in just a few council areas suggests things are awry. The large number of penalties being dished out over a small number of locations and in a short space of time should send alarm bells ringing in council offices." Data from 2024 shows that Medway Council had the second highest penalty charge notice generated from yellow box junctions.
These new powers allow us to do is to actually ensure that we stand up for the thousands of law-abiding citizens, the thousands of drivers who cross Rochester Bridge and 4 other locations where we are enforcing with these cameras. And we're standing up for them and making sure that the people who cut them up, who block them out, who basically cause a significant part of the delays on major routes in Medway are actually held to account and are issued with a penalty charge.
I've been at the Rochester Bridge yellow box for about an hour now and I haven't witnessed any cars stop in the box or be at risk of receiving a fine. However, let's go and check out what it looks like at the highest earning revenue yellow box here in Medway. And it's here on Rainham Road where it's said that Medway is receiving the most revenue. Connecting Canterbury Street and Ash Tree Lane to Rainham Road can make the area a hotspot for traffic. But while out watching, I saw more cars trying to avoid entering the yellow box. But what do people make of the enforcement?
People have to wait, so we have to pay, I mean, as long as it helps driving and if stopping accident.
Well, I think it's important to give them a chance, perhaps, especially if it's their first time in that particular area. So perhaps a first chance would be good, and then, obviously on the second occasion, then fine.
So next time you approach a yellow box, make sure to stop. Daisy Page for KMTV.
And now Daisy Page joins me in the studio. Thank you very much. So you were out all day today looking at these. So, I mean, some people might not necessarily know that you could get a fine from these yellow boxes. What did you encounter today?
Yeah, so out and about today, I went out around 11 o'clock. I spent around an hour down at the Rochester Bridge yellow box. I spoke to a few people. A few people were non-drivers, whereas some were. And when I said yellow box, they were like, "Oh, what do you mean?" And when I pointed it out and explained, they were still quite unsure. Some people didn't want to be interviewed, but kind of echoed what we heard in the story as kind of like that we need them in place for enforcement to make sure there's no incidents happening. And then I spent the rest of the day down at Rainham Road, which is said to be bring in the most revenue in from these fines. Now, Medway has 5 enforced yellow boxes altogether, and from data last year, it shows that Medway Council issued 4,433 PCNs last year, and that's equivalent to 13 a day. But what I didn't know before today, speaking to Alex, is that these cameras aren't actually giving out the fines. The camera's noticed and issued, and it goes to a person to take a look. So we can hear from Alex explaining this a little bit better now.
This is not fines issued by robots. Although there are cameras to capture the potential offences and to capture the registration plates, all those clips are then reviewed by a human being who will determine whether a contravention has actually happened. So if there is a situation where you were moving forward into clear space beyond the other side of the yellow box and you are then cut up by a driver from another lane, that will be something that will be taken into account, and that would not be a contravention, and a fine wouldn't be issued.
Now, did you see anyone actually enter the yellow box while you were out today?
Well, at both locations, I spent around an hour, just a bit over an hour, watching traffic. I mean, I did go at midday, so it wasn't the height of traffic. What I did notice is that cars were slowly going through it, but not stopping. There was lots of traffic lights by both of these yellow boxes, so I think it's quite easy to be caught out, but people were stopping ahead of time and monitoring that. But one thing I did notice was people not stopping in the yellow boxes, but trying their best to avoid stopping. And we can show you a clip now of a car. He's about to go out and he realises that there's too many cars in front of him. He stops and then he rolls back. Now, in this original clip, you won't be able to hear it, but the car behind him beeps as he's about to roll back into the other car. And I just thought that was really interesting, the fact that you saw the yellow box trying to stop accidents, but also then people are trying to avoid getting that penalty fine and reversing back as well. So I think the biggest thing that we need to take away is making sure that when we're driving, the road in front of us is clear before we take off and go into that space.
Yeah, and being very careful of making sure that we don't go in these boxes just in case we do get fines. And they probably, as long as it's safe, it's probably the best thing to do to make sure you're not in there.
Always stop. And just to note, let me get the correct terminology, PCNs are generally around £70, but they can be reduced to £35 if paid within the 21 days of the notice being issued.
Thank you very much, Daisy Page there. Now, a builder from Manfield who cold-heartedly murdered a grandfather has today been sentenced to a minimum term of 25 years. Stephen Castle was sentenced today at Maidstone Crown Court, where His Honour Judge Julian Smith described the case as chilling. Wayne Woodgate's family were watching on today, where they described Castle as a bully who took an irreplaceable life. Gabriel Morris joins me now from Maidstone Crown Court. So, sentencing today, can you please just give us a reminder of the case itself?
Well, it's a chilling case as described by His Honour Judge Julian Smith. He said there was a degree of premeditation which went into this, but not long-term planning. It was all born out of chance and misfortune. Stephen Castle, who actually turned 60 yesterday, has now been sentenced to a minimum term of 25 years behind bars. Around 3/4 of a year of that he has already served, as he's been in custody since his arrest last October. It all began with Stephen Castle's belief that Wayne Woodgate was a grasp for a previous conviction that he served. I was speaking to Kent Police, the chief detective on this case afterwards, and they said there was never any evidence for that. It was last October when both of them were in Tunbridge Wells together. Wayne Woodgate was in town that day. He was attending a wellbeing centre for a session to do with drug and alcohol abuse, something that he had been an abuser of in the past. And at the time, Wayne Woodgate was living with his son, who was with him today. But the next day, he was about to move into a new building, a fresh start. That's when Castle spotted them, and the two of them got into an argument. And a 999 call captured foul language and aggressive threats, something that we heard in the court today. If it wasn't for that, Wayne Woodgate's body may have never been found. Wayne Woodgate's son was watching from 100 yards away, and that sent alarm bells ringing through his head. He saw him disappearing off into a van, and that's when he became a missing man. Meanwhile, Castle has taken him back to his farmhouse in Matfield, where Castle tried to convince Mr. Woodgate to admit to being a grass, as I was explaining earlier. He was later murdered, and he dumped Mr. Woodgate's body in undergrowth off the A268 in Peamarsh in East Sussex. Now, later that same day, Castle went for what he described as a cheeky pint. CCTV footage, as we can see on the screen now, shows him buying and drinking a pint at his local pub just hours after killing Wayne Woodgate. Later that day, he was arrested that evening on suspicion of kidnapping, but he was released on bail, where he then removed the body into woodland. He was later arrested charged for murder, something he denied, said it was manslaughter, but the court found him guilty of murder, and today he was sentenced to 25 years behind bars for a minimum term. I've been talking to Kent Police a little bit about this case. And you must have spent quite a long time with him in custody. Did he ever show any remorse?
He showed absolutely no remorse whatsoever. He's quite cold, very calculated individual. It was almost like it was just daily business for him to be violent and to act that way. He maintained himself. He was a career criminal, but actually the only time he ever afforded any type of apology was in court. But of course,
Thank you for that report, Gabriel Morris. Now time for a break.
The Kent Politics Show, live on KMTV. Join us every week with an array of guests.
I think the boundary changes have changed a great deal in Kent.
The Conservative administration have delivered the lowest council tax in Kent. We will continue to do that.
Discussing the things that matter most to you.
People do feel like they've been ignored by this government.
We do need something else to supplement wind and solar.
Catch the Kent Politics Show, only on KMTV.
Become a Kent Online subscriber for unlimited access to award-winning journalism from across the county. Browse the premium version of our website with no intrusive ads for uninterrupted scrolling on your desktop, mobile or tablet. Enjoy unrivaled coverage of news, sport and leisure in Kent, including content exclusive to subscribers. Read fascinating features in our in-depth section and head down memory lane by delving into our decades archive. Keep up to date with politics in Kent and Westminster and the latest on and off the field with our extensive sports coverage, including specialist Gills reporting. Enjoy weekly digital editions of all KM titles and swipe for the same page-turning experience as the newspaper. Download, share and print out the pages you want and tackle fun puzzles such as crosswords and Sudoku. Plus, unlock our extensive archive of past papers stretching back more than 10 years. Becoming a subscriber is easy. Visit kentonline.co.uk and click the subscribe tab at the top right of the screen. Choose the package that suits you with options to pay monthly or annually. Once you've signed up, check your email for a thank you message from us and details on how to get the most out of our subscription. Kent Online, news you can trust.
Hospital visits will be dramatically reduced.
And there's something about time in Imagining Autism. I call it a nowhere.
I completely adapted to being a hidden away rural homeless person. The system can't and doesn't cope with rural homelessness at all.
And I think that's a big barrier to young disabled people in terms of their aspirations and accessing science.
I think the Equiparakeet is a great symbol for what we should be doing on Mauritius, what we can do elsewhere in the world.
This is like a picture of me and my cousins when we was in Albania back to my aunt's house.
Welcome back to Kent Tonight live on KMTV. Now, a special needs school in Ashford has been left empty despite being open for 2 months. King Park say they receive daily calls from parents looking for specialist education for their children. The independent school launched at the former Jelly Beans nursery site in Park Farm 3 years after the death of a baby boy who choked on his food. Our reporter Kai Wei joins me in the studio to tell us more. So can you start off by telling me a bit about this school and a bit about the situation?
Yeah, of course. So Kings Park School, as you said, is an SEND school in Ashford. And the issue that the school is facing is that there are no students being assigned to their site. Their chair of directors, Amy Saunders, has stated that around 70 people have reached out to get their children assigned, and they want to name Kings Park School on their child's education, health and care plan, which is the legal document that they need to fill out, which tells the school how to meet their children's needs. But local authorities have stated that no students will be placed there until they get approved.
I see. So can you tell me more about the effect this is having on parents, children and the teachers at the school too?
Yeah, of course. So Amy claims that families have been calling the school non-stop. She says she's received about 10 phone calls a day from different parents who want to enroll their kids, saying that they sound quite distressed because some parents have had to leave their jobs. And the staff are very disheartened at the situation, saying they can't provide the support that these people need, especially because this school specifically is an independent specialist school, you know, catering to children's schools, so it's not a mainstream SEND school. But the management are also facing a lot of financial troubles because they're still funding staff, even though there's no kids to teach, so they're losing money to fund the future of children who just aren't there. And we can actually hear from the director herself. So here is a clip from Amy Saunders.
So we are still empty. We don't have any children. We are consulting with KCC, but Medway have told us they won't consult with independent schools at all. So we have had contact from a lot of the parents who are obviously been left without a school, and we've had quite distressed phone calls from them, but all we can tell them is that they can't come here despite the fact that we're empty and that we want them. Yeah, Medway have refused to get in contact with us, haven't they? They haven't responded to any of our emails where we've said we could help in the short run. You know, there's lots we can do. We've got teachers and classes, so even if we need to give them something to do in the interim, but they haven't got back to us. So we had a meeting with Medway maybe 6 weeks ago where they told us that they changed the rules. They weren't consulting with independent schools at all, although they said that they can. If it goes to tribunal, there are a few cases that will go to an independent school, but they weren't going to consult with us. Then when the news of Cornfields and Bellevue came out, we got in touch with them again on Friday and said that we've heard what's happened. If you need any help, we want to work with you. We're here. But yeah, no response.
And what has Kent County Council and Medway Council said about this?
So I reached out to both for a statement today, and KCC says that they are committed to placing children and young people in the school or setting that best meets their individual needs, and that they prioritise maintained mainstream schools or special schools. However, they also work with a range of non-maintained independent special schools when they are best placed to support a child's specific needs. They go on to say that as the local authority, they have a legal duty to ensure children are safe and receiving a suitable education, and to make sure that they can achieve this, they encourage schools to join an approved list of NMISS schools that meet clear standards in safeguarding, quality of education, legal compliance and value for money. Specifically on this school, the Kings Park School, they stated that it's one of many independent schools seeking placements from KCC, but it's not currently on the approved list and are awaiting evidence of how they meet the minimum criteria. And Medway Council also very quickly said that there are a range of considerations when making any placement decision, including the suitability and location of the school, and all local authorities have a duty to ensure the efficient use of public funds.
Thank you very much, Kai.
Thank you.
And you can read more about that on Kent Online. But now church leaders have revealed plans to turn one of Kent's most iconic buildings, deeply rooted in Christianity, into a holiday let. Christ Church Gate, built in the 1500s, stands as the main entrance to Canterbury Cathedral and is arguably the most photographed. Facing financial pressure, cathedral bosses say transforming the space into an Airbnb would offer unique accommodation, but critics have called the idea ludicrous. Gabriel Morris has been fielding opinion.
As Kent's most popular tourist attraction and UNESCO World Heritage Site, hotels nearby command high prices, especially with a view. But what if you could stay inside it? New plans propose a holiday apartment behind these windows on the Christ Church Gate. The one-bedroom flat would feature an open-plan kitchen, breakfast bar and 2 toilets. The cathedral claims the design avoids permanent changes to the historic structure, but the idea has alarmed this local tour guide.
It just doesn't seem right to put a holiday let in such a beautiful Grade 1 listed building. I mean, it's Baroque and early Renaissance. It's a wonderful building, and it just seems to, I don't know, it just seems to diminish what we've got going on here, you know. And if that holiday let was just for the church to make money, it doesn't sit well with me, that.
We've got a Canterbury Gate Hotel next door. That was once used by pilgrims. Do you think pilgrims might use the holiday let?
I think it's so high-end. I think we're talking high-end American tourists here.
In recent years, the gate has undergone a £1 million facelift.
The gate's currently being laser cleaned as part of the restoration process, but when the scaffolding comes down, if it becomes a holiday let, will that be popular?
Well, I think it's absolutely absurd, to be honest with you. It's got a lot of history behind it. You know, like you say, it's a listed building. And the fact they can turn it into a holiday let when there's also a housing crisis, you know, in the country, is absolutely absurd.
I do think it's a good idea because it brings more people to the city. It's kind of a bit of a waste of the building just being office work. So obviously it gives more people a nice place to stay with a nice building.
I mean, it would be a really cool stay, but I just feel like, you know, it's going to detract from really what it is. Like, you know, you're kind of selling out God a little bit.
Cathedral bosses told us they want to continue their centuries-old tradition of hospitality, serving the local community and welcoming guests from across the world.
Proposals have only just been submitted for the holiday let by the cathedral, and their planning process could take some time. But if it's given the green light, it could soon be a room with a pew. Gabriel Morris for KNTV in Canterbury.
Today, the Hodeswood clean-up operation begins. 2 years after the area was described as an environmental disaster, the clean-up operation will see more than 30,000 tonnes of household and construction waste removed. The operation is expected to take over a year to complete, with 2,000 lorry loads required. Over 50 workers have been brought in to manage the removal and to ensure the waste is disposed of safely. Environment Minister Mary Cree said the community in Ashford shouldn't have to put up with the disgusting actions of these criminal gangs, and we reported on this earlier in the year. You can watch this report on our website.
For far too long, Hodeswood in Ashford has been used to illegally dump tons of waste, 35,000 to be exact. But this could soon change. In a letter sent to locals this week, the Environment Agency shared their plans to close roads in the area on March 25th to gather equipment. They will then start removing the waste in spring. Despite plans to have 20 vehicles moving the waste daily through Hothfield, they say this project won't end until late summer 2026.
There's actually 35,000 tonnes of treated waste on that site. It's covering several acres and it stands around 12 feet high. It's enormous what's been done there. The lorries will come in day and night. It's a massive operation to get that site filled with that level of waste, and it's going to take time to clear it as well.
So what kind of waste has been piling up here?
It's really difficult to be able to describe exactly what's there, but from the images and the drone images that we've seen, it looks like shredded and treated waste.
Although the removal may cause disruption due to closed roads and moving smells, the outcome will be positive, giving residents access to fresh air.
The smell from the site already is quite strong. I was talking to a reporter and a camera crew who've been up there, filming on site, and the cameraman told me that he actually threw away the shoes he'd been wearing because he couldn't get the stench out of them after being on site. So taking it away probably will cause that level of disruption, but at the moment, if you go to Hodeswood, you can't get away from it. So by taking that away, then hopefully in the long term, the community will be able to breathe clean air once again.
But despite the clean-up effort, the future of Hodeswoods remains uncertain, as years of fly tipping have left permanent scars on the land.
Nature does have the most remarkable power to heal itself. Unfortunately for Hodeswood, that site will never be restored. It's ancient woodlands, and the soils and the way the woodland works, that will never be how it once was again. But we can restore it to some extent for nature, and what we'd like to see is for the Environment Agency to put a nature restoration plan in place for the woodland so we can get some kind of normality back for the location.
In a statement, the Environment Agency said that a criminal investigation continues in order to bring before the courts more waste criminals using Kent as a dumping ground for waste for profit. The steps following the removal will be efforts to regenerate the site so that both residents and wildlife can breathe fresher air. Kristen Hawthorne for KMTV.
It's time for a quick break now, but after the break we'll learn about a primary school who were able to see the air ambulance helicopter that they named. And we hear from an award-winning cider company who also might make wine. We'll see after this break.
The Kent Politics Show, live on KMTV. Join us every week with an array of guests.
I think the boundary changes have changed a great deal in Kent.
The Conservative administration have delivered the lowest council tax in Kent. We will continue to do that.
Discussing the things that matter most to you.
People do feel like they've been ignored by this government.
So we do need something else to supplement wind and solar.
Catch the Kent Politics Show, only on KMTV.
Become a Kent Online subscriber for unlimited access to award-winning journalism from across the county. Browse the premium version of our website with no intrusive ads for uninterrupted scrolling on your desktop, mobile or tablet. Enjoy unrivaled coverage of news, sport and leisure in Kent, including content exclusive to subscribers. Read fascinating features in our in-depth section and head down memory lane by delving into our decades archive. Keep up to date with politics in Kent and Westminster and the latest on and off the field with our extensive sports coverage, including specialist Gills reporting. Enjoy weekly digital editions of all KM titles and swipe for the same page-turning experience as the newspaper. Download, share and print out the pages you want and tackle fun puzzles such as crosswords and Sudoku. Plus, unlock our extensive archive of past papers stretching back more than 10 years. Becoming a subscriber is easy. Visit kentonline.co.uk and click the subscribe tab at the top right of the screen. Choose the package that suits you with options to pay monthly or annually. Once you've signed up, check your email for a thank you message from us and details on how to get the most out of our subscription. Kent Online, news you can trust.
Hospital visits will be dramatically reduced.
And there's something about time in Imagining Autism, I call it a nowhere.
I completely adapted to being a hidden away rural homeless person. The system can't and doesn't cope with rural homelessness at all.
And I think that's a big barrier to young disabled people in terms of their aspirations and accessing science.
I think the eco-parakeet is a great symbol for what we should be doing on Mauritius, what we can do elsewhere in the world.
But this is like a picture of me and my cousins when we was in Albania back to my aunt's house.
Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight live on KMTV. I'm Isabel Miller and here are your top stories on Thursday the 26th of June. Sentenced to life. Stephen Castle to serve a minimum term of 25 years for the murder of Wayne Woodgate.
He showed absolutely no remorse whatsoever. He's quite cold, very calculated individual. It was almost like it was just daily business for him.
Don't stop in the box. Medway Council revealed to have the second highest revenue from yellow box fines in England.
These new powers allow us to do is to actually ensure that we stand up for the thousands of law-abiding citizens.
And high spirits. Ramsgate Primary School names air ambulance helicopter.
Children of all ages, it's really important that they learn about the work that we do and the difference that we make and that they can make.
Students in Ramsgate have finally been able to see the KSS air ambulance helicopter they named Spirit. Monkton Primary School won a competition after nearly £2 million following their Buy for Life campaign raised money to buy the helicopter. They called for young people across the region to name the aircraft, and the class here in Kent were lucky enough, like I said, to win that competition. So the helicopter visited the children today and Etley Reynolds went down to meet it.
Anticipation filled the air as the students of Monkton Primary School awaited a very special vehicle to land. It's the new KSS air ambulance, but there's something special about this particular aircraft. Behind me is the helicopter, Spirit, and the children at Monkton Primary were lucky enough to come up with its name. The students have been learning about KSS in their spirituality lessons. They chose the name, Spirit, to remind them to have courage and help others.
And we chose to look at the Air Ambulance charity because we're in a very rural situation. The children were really inspired by the youth ambassadors and the stories involved. I think we hope that we never need to use an air ambulance, but as we know, that happens far too often, and it's more and more important for children to be able to call for help and know where to get help when they need it.
Per year, the KSS Air Ambulance Service responds to over 3,300 incidents across Kent, Surrey and Sussex. And even at fun events like this, the helicopters are always on duty.
It's a very dynamic day-to-day. Our operation is a 24-hour day operation, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and we're available at all times. The operational aircraft that you can see here today has already been to a mission this morning and seen a patient. And just as they were about to come here, they got tasked with another mission, but thankfully we weren't needed, so they were able to come here, and now we're here to see the children.
KSS chose to include young people in the competition to name the aircraft, to help educate more about what services the air ambulance can offer to them and the community.
So I think it's really important that we engage with all the communities that we serve, because 90% of the money that we have to raise is raised by the communities of Kent, Surrey and Sussex. And children of all ages, it's really important that they learn about the work that we do and the difference that we make and that they can make with, that we can make with their support.
Despite being touch and go if the helicopter would actually be able to show up, the students had a fantastic time, not only seeing the name they chose on the side of the helicopter, but also learning more about the services of KSS. Etley Reynolds for KMTV.
Kent might be known for its vineyards and wine, but it's cider that's making this headline. One local producer has just won a national award and is getting international attention by using winemaking techniques to craft something a little different. Kristen Hawthorne has been finding out more about the buzz around Kentish cider and the challenges the industry is facing.
A local vineyard here in the county has recently won an award, but not for what you might expect. Instead of wine, it's their cider that's been getting national attention. But by using their winemaking skills in the craft of cider, the team at Biddenden Vineyards are turning heads across the UK. At the Royal Bath & West show, Biddenden's strawberry and mint cider won the best for its cider, while their sparkling one won Supreme Champion. Apparently, this is due to its wow factor that stood out from the very first sip. Both of them are made with apples that are sourced within 20 miles of the business, making it a real Kentish cider.
We've always focused on the wines. The wines, as a family, we're winemakers. Dad started making cider 40 years ago, and Bindon Cider was born, and that's it's carried on. So we've always made our cider with a winemaker's approach. Yeah, I think that that interpretation of being a winemaker is definitely reflects in our ciders. We're working with real fruit. It's not concentrate. It's not water. We're actively going out working with local farmers to source the strawberries and the mint that we infuse the products with, or using the champagne style on the sparkling cider, which is the one that won Supreme Champion.
But the path to making the perfect pint isn't always smooth. I spoke to another award-winning Kent cider maker who's concerned about the future of the industry.
We're having to find ways to kind of, try and save money in places, see where we can be more efficient, to kind of spend where we need to, and also to kind of not spend where we don't have to. It's a tough time. There's climatic challenges, there's market challenges, cost challenges. It might mean that we have to plant more climate tolerant varieties in the future. I've got a lot of peers in the industry, and we speak a lot, and everybody's struggling with similar problems.
So with all this in mind, it seems that despite the challenges Kent cider production is facing, such as rising costs and unpredictable weather, Kent cider producers say they're adapting by blending tradition with innovation to keep the taps flowing and Kentish cider alive. Kristen Hawthorne for KMTV, Ashford.
So that's a nice way to spend some time in the sunshine drinking wine. Not a wine drinker myself, but actually a cider drinker I am, which is obviously trending a little bit more, would you say? I mean, you've heard from them and some farmers as well about the kind of, the success of cider, but then also the industry is facing a few troubles, climate changes. There's so much around this, isn't there?
There is. It's certainly an interesting story, and there's a lot more to it other than the amazing awards that's been won by lots of Kentish producers. One of the problems is, well, not problems, but a rising trend is that a lot of the younger generation are drinking less now. So Tom from Biddenden has noticed that people tend to gravitate towards 4%, 3.5%, which is maybe why you're seeing more of the fruit ciders in the shops, because they tend to be a little bit lower in percentage.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes go for a 0% beer because I don't really care for the effects of alcohol, but sometimes it's nice on a summer's day. And I find that they're getting a lot better as well. I mean, in terms of what the actual place said and farmers said, what are we seeing in terms of, how this year has been for making cider and growing the stuff that needs to be put inside it?
Yes, so after talking to Sam, as you've seen in my package, he also told me that this year we've seen a lot of sun, as we're all aware. We've been very, very warm. This has been great for the apples. They're getting ripe really quick. They taste amazing. However, this is causing the farms to be quite dry. So then that tends to make them worry about the year after. Because the year after could be a lot colder, which would mean that the apples don't get as ripe. So it's kind of, it's something that they have to think about a lot and constantly try to adapt the trees and different things. So, I mean, in the next few years, as climate change continues to go, we might be seeing some new trees or some new methods.
Yeah, and we're always adapting, aren't we? And I actually think we have Tom Barnes on the line with us now. Thank you very much for joining us, if we've managed to connect to you. Hello. Hiya. So,
no, I need to move over.
Oh, yes. There we go. Everyone can see you. Perfect. So tell me a little bit about it's Wine Week and there's cider and it's summer. It's just such a good time to be drinking these drinks. Tell us a little bit about, Wine Week and cider production a little bit.
Yeah, so English Wine Week's been running since last Saturday. It's a good opportunity for the whole of the UK, really, to promote English wines and what we're doing, and for people to get out and about and come and visit us. Not only is it English Wine Week, but we obviously have all our other wines, ciders, juices that you can taste when you come to Bindon as well. So yeah, make the most of the good weather we're having. which is actually a really good thing for vines, certainly for older vines anyway, that are capable of dealing with the drier conditions that we're seeing at the moment, and hopefully will lead to a very good harvest for us.
So is it something that we're worried about, maybe drought or this drier weather? In years past, it would actually be flooding that was the problem. Now it's dryness. Is it just about adaptation to ensure that we have all the drinks that we enjoy?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously, good for sales, I guess, for the fact that it's nice and sunny and hot. People are out drinking more. Certainly, we've seen, if you go back to 2024, we had a really wet year in general, right from the start, all the way through the summer. And sales of cold ciders, wine were slightly down because of that. This year, season started a lot earlier. We've seen a lot of drier weather, and people are out drinking and enjoying themselves a lot more. Certainly from the tourism angle, getting out and about and seeing us on site. So I think there's pros and cons to every year. And as far as I can say, I don't see it as a big issue for us. It may be a big issue as we move forward into the years to come. But at the moment, we're very happy with everything we're seeing.
Mm-hmm. And we only have 10 seconds left, so tell me one flavour that you're excited about people trying.
When I was in Albania, back to my nan's house.
I lost cider. So strawberry mint's massive for us. Obviously,
strawberry mint. We've got to go to a break now, but I will give that a go. See you soon.
The Kent Politics Show, live on KMTV. Join us every week with an array of guests.
I think the boundary changes have changed a great deal in Kent.
The Conservative administration have delivered the lowest council tax in Kent. We will continue to do that.
Discussing the things that matter most to you.
People do feel like they've been ignored by this government.
So we do need something else to supplement wind and solar.
Catch the Kent Politics Show, only on KMTV.
Become a Kent Online subscriber for unlimited access to award-winning journalism from across the county. Browse the premium version of our website with no intrusive ads for uninterrupted scrolling on your desktop, mobile or tablet. Enjoy unrivaled coverage of news, sport and leisure in Kent, including content exclusive to subscribers. Read fascinating features in our in-depth section and head down memory lane by delving into our decades archive. Keep up to date with politics in Kent and Westminster and the latest on and off the field with our extensive sports coverage, including specialist Gills reporting. Enjoy weekly digital editions of all KM titles and swipe for the same page-turning experience as the newspaper. Download, share and print out the pages you want and tackle fun puzzles such as crosswords and Sudoku. Plus, unlock our extensive archive of past papers stretching back more than 10 years. Becoming a subscriber is easy. Visit kentonline.co.uk and click the subscribe tab at the top right of the screen. Choose the package that suits you with options to pay monthly or annually. Once you've signed up, check your email for a thank you message from us and details on how to get the most out of our subscription. Kent Online, news you can trust.
Hospital visits will be dramatically reduced.
And there's something about time in Imagining Autism, I call it a nowhere.
I completely adapted to being a hidden away rural homeless person. The system can't and doesn't cope with rural homelessness at all.
And I think that's a big barrier to young disabled people in terms of their aspirations and accessing science.
I think the Equiparakeet is a great symbol for what we should be doing on Mauritius, what we can do elsewhere in the world.
But this is like a picture of me and my cousins when we was in Albania.
Welcome back to Kent Tonight, live on KMTV. Now, to start off with, a drug dealer operating in Tunbridge Wells has been sentenced after cocaine fell from his underwear in custody. Mateus Parente concealed the drugs after the car he was driving was stopped by plain-clothed patrols. Police suspected the grey Mazda rental car was linked to the supply of cocaine in Southborough. Officers from the Tunbridge Wells Neighbourhood Task Force detained Parente for a search under the Misuse of Drugs Act. This led to the initial seizure of £200 in cash and a single vial of cocaine from a sock within the driver's door. A strip search was then carried out in custody, where a black sock fell from his underwear, which contained a further 42 vials of cocaine. The dealer from outside of Kent pleaded guilty at Maidstone Crown Court to charges of possessing cocaine with intent to supply and driving without insurance. This week, he was sentenced to 2 years and 2 months in prison. Now, let's take a moment to see what we've got going on our website.
Artists across Maidstone have taken part in the town's second Pride celebrations, and part of them is hosting an art exhibit. Taking place every June, Pride Month celebrates the rights, culture and inclusivity of the LGBTQIA+ communities across the world, and Maidstone celebrated its first last year.
So this is for Maidstone Pride, and the exhibition is talking about community and obviously the LGBTQ community as well. It also talks about pride in itself. So what are we proud about as general as Maidstone, as a town? It also gives the LGBTQ community a chance to share their artwork and their talents as well.
This art exhibit serves as a platform for artists to express themselves during Pride Month, from paintings, sculptures and music.
So all the money donated towards Maidstone Pride will keep them running, and we think it's really important, especially in Maidstone, to make sure that we keep these events going, because there's a lot of hate speech happening, and we just want to make people here who are part of the community feel welcome, and not listen to all the hate and prejudice that they get in the media.
Whilst at the event, I bumped into the Deputy Mayor and Mayoress of Maidstone and asked them if events like this are likely to become a regular occurrence.
I think you can see that this is a wonderful event. It's well attended. I think the fact that we've got this as a single event in the arts calendar, perhaps there is scope for us to have a lot more of these types of things. I think there is an appetite for it. I think it's great that Maidstone is becoming more of a vibrant town, and I say bring it on.
Definitely, it should be all-inclusive, and there's some inspiring artwork in here, and we should have it displayed throughout the year, not just in one day.
The Maidstone Pride art exhibit will be in Fremlin Walk until the 13th of June. Henry Luck, the KMTV in Maidstone.
Now let's take a look at the sport headlines today.
Hello and welcome to your sports headlines. First up, 5 young boxers from Pedge ABC Margate entered the Bristol Box Cup this year and all managed to secure themselves gold medals. Held at Thornbury Leisure Centre, the club overall finished second in the medal table, competing against other young boxers from all across the UK. Vinny, Ian, Alfie, Ralph and Rio were all highly commended by their coach, who said they are unbelievably proud of their boxers who put up a great fight against the very good opposing clubs. Now to some golf news. The 130th Amateur Championship saw America's Ethan Fang beat Ireland's Gavin Tiernan at Royal St George's. The 20-year-old Fang became the 23rd American winner during the 36-hole final, in which the last two players went shot for shot during the gripping competition. But Tiernan managed to gain an early advantage. Fang recovered after the 14th hole, and the two continued to trade the leading spots going into the final 9 holes at even scores. In the final hole, Fang set up a 5-foot birder putt for the title, with Tiernan's birdie attempt just shaving the edge of the hole, with Fang gaining the winning putt. He stated he was disappointed but complimented his opponent, stating he hit a fantastic shot on 18. Now to football, with Gary Ainsworth taking his Gillingham squad to face a familiar enemy in the group stage of the Virtu Trophy. The side will go up against Colchester United, Fulham under-21s and Ainsworth's former club Wycombe Wanderers, for which he managed for 10 years. The list of teams was released today, only hours before the League Two fixtures were also sent out, revealing the Gills will head up north to play Accrington Stanley in their first game on Saturday, the 2nd of August. And finally, for sport in cricket news, Grant Stewart has helped secure a draw in their match with Lancashire by scoring 130 runs in the County Championship Division 2. Playing at Blackpool, the last day of the Rothesay Championship saw a dramatic comeback from Kent after the score settled at 116-7 after the second innings. But at the 8th wicket, Stewart, paired with Joey Everson, made 182 to take Kent into the black. And even though Stewart was caught for cover at 130 by Anderson, the team finished on 328-8, with Everson remaining unbeaten on 77 by the end. That's all for your sports headlines. I'll see you soon.
New RAC data shows the Medway Council was the second highest earner from fines received by people stopping in a yellow box. That data excludes London and Cardiff, with only 5 enforced boxes through Medway. It is estimated that the council are handing out about 13 PCNs a day. Our reporter Daisy Page has taken to Medway to see the yellow boxes for herself.
These yellow box markings on a road are used to reduce traffic and keep junctions clear. A motorist which stops in one of these can be at risk of receiving a £70 fine, which can be reduced to £35 if paid within the 21 days of the notice being issued. Up until May 2022, only councils in London and Cardiff could enforce yellow box junctions. But since other authorities could enforce this, there has been a concern for drivers being unfairly caught out. In a statement by RAC, they said, "The enormously high number of penalty charge notice being raised in just a few council areas suggests things are awry. The large number of penalties being dished out over a small number of locations and in a short space of time should send alarm bells ringing in council offices." Data from 2024 shows that Medway Council had the second highest penalty charge notice generated from yellow box junctions.
These new powers allow us to do is to actually ensure that we stand up for the thousands of law-abiding citizens, the thousands of drivers who cross Rochester Bridge and 4 other locations where we are enforcing with these cameras. And we're standing up for them and making sure that the people who cut them up, who block them out, who basically cause a significant part of the delays on major routes in Medway are actually held to account and are issued with a penalty charge.
I've been at the Rochester Bridge yellow box for about an hour now, and I haven't witnessed any cars stop in the box or be at risk of receiving a fine. However, let's go and check out what it looks like at the highest earning revenue yellow box here in Medway. And it's here on Rainham Road where it's said that Medway is receiving the most revenue. Connecting Canterbury Street and Ash Tree Lane to Rainham Road can make the area a hotspot for traffic. But while out watching, I saw more cars trying to avoid entering the yellow box. But what do people make of the enforcement?
People have to wait, so we have to pay, you know. I mean, as long as it helps driving and if stopping accident.
Well, I think it's important to give them a chance, perhaps, especially if it's their first time in that particular area. So perhaps a first chance would be good, and then, you know, obviously on the second occasion, then fine.
So next time you approach a yellow box, make sure to stop. Daisy Page for KMTV.
One of our top stories there today with reporter Daisy Page. Now, let's take a look at the weather. This evening is looking cloudy with temperatures of 17 degrees, 16 down in Ashford and Tunbridge Wells. And in the morning, some sun peeking through the clouds with clear sun in the east of the county, 18 in Tunbridge Wells, 19 elsewhere. Into the afternoon, temperatures ranging from 21 to 25 degrees with wind speeds of 14 and 15 miles per hour, with much of the same weather as the morning. Now, let's take a look at your outlook. Highs of 27 on Saturday with partly cloudy weather. Clouds clearing for Sunday and Monday with temperatures reaching 28 and then all the way up to 31 on Monday. So be careful in that heat. You've been watching Kent Tonight live on KMTV. There's more news made just for Kent throughout the evening. Don't forget, you can always keep up to date with the latest news across your county by logging on to kmtv.co.uk. You can keep us on your social timelines too by liking us on Facebook and following us on formerly Twitter, now X. And if you have a story you think we should be covering, then do get in touch. We also have a series of special programmes: Invicta Sport, Kent on Climate, Based in Kent, Kent Film Club and the Kent Politics shows.